Well, it had to happen sooner or later. It seems like no film or franchise is safe from Hollywood resurrecting it with a sequel or spin-off. Nothing is sacred when it comes to making money. Seriously, I ask you, what franchise haven't they touched? Now, I won't presume to judge the upcoming Minority Report TV series when it's still in the pre-production stage. For all I know, it could turn out as well as Noah Hawley's Fargo TV series, which brilliantly recreated the movie's darkly comic style and applied it to a new story. While I seriously doubt that the Minority Report TV series will have a character as interesting as Lorne Malvo, the concept is not entirely wasted in a television format. Now that we're on the subject, why don't we take a look back at the movie and see if its version of the future still holds up? This is Minority Report. Taking place in the year 2054, the movie revolves around John Anderton, captain of a specialized police unit known as Pre-Crime. Being tested in Washington, D.C., this police force has essentially eliminated homicides in the city by sending officers to prevent murders before they even happen and arresting the would-be perpetrators. This is made possible by the Precogs, mutated humans kept in isolation and who periodically generate visions of future homicides and those involved. The officers then sort through the images to determine the location of the murder and prevent it. One day, Anderton receives a vision of himself killing someone, instantly making him a fugitive. Going on the run to unravel this mystery and prove his innocence, he comes across many twists and turns that force him to confront his past and rethink everything he knows about the future. First of all, we have the concept of being able to predict and stop murders before they happen, using that to tackle complex themes of free will versus predeterminism and playing God by reshaping the future. What a great idea that is! Of course, it's really not all that surprising since it comes from the mind of Philip K. Dick, an author who specialized in cerebral sci-fi concepts like those in Blade Runner and Total Recall. Using humans, victimized humans at that, as a means to an end is morally and ethically deplorable, but this movie really makes you ponder whether or not the end might justify said means. What if we could save lives and prevent murder? Would it be worth the exploitation of 3 humans? Or is that, combined with the fact that we'd essentially be changing history, simply going too far? The subject matter here is very thought-provoking, and the script takes appropriate time for analysis while weaving it in with a compellingly human story. Speaking of which, the screenplay is exceptionally well written, containing no shortage of twists and turns that make it an entertaining piece of neo-noir. This atmosphere is further strengthened by the lighting and color scheme. The high contrast and bleak blue tint go perfectly with the future, which is idyllic yet disconcerting. In addition, when it comes to directors who can take us on fantastical adventures with a sense of spectacle and wonderment, you really can't get much better than Steven Spielberg. This is someone who lets his audiences digest what's going on in every shot, even during the action scenes. The fact that he lets the movie breathe like this allows us to really drink in the various environments that characterize the setting. It's actually kind of eerie how familiar this future feels to today. I'm not saying that every sci-fi concept seen here has or ever will come to fruition in people's everyday lives. For instance, I've never understood the appeal of holograms in these types of movies, but much of the technology in this film seems just a few steps ahead of our own. However, we can't connect with the futuristic setting without characters to relate to. Luckily, this movie excels at that as well. Tom Cruise as Anderton is immensely likable, perfectly balancing the proactive cop and the regretful father. Everything involving his family resonates emotionally thanks to his incredibly earnest and heartfelt performance. In conjunction, he's also very believable as a no-nonsense officer, partially due to his willingness to partake in the kinetic action scenes. The character is also written well enough to deepen the whole fugitive storyline. Still haunted by the loss of his son, he sees pre-crime as both a coping mechanism and a way of ensuring the same thing doesn't happen to anyone else. So, when the system that he wholeheartedly supports labels him a killer, he's forced to confront his former comrades as well as his beliefs. Fortunately, Cruise is backed up by an excellent supporting cast. Colin Farrell is charismatically sharp in his own right as Department of Justice agent Danny Whitwer. Sure, he's smarmy and kind of shady, but Farrell injects enough professionalism into his performance to keep you invested. On the opposite end of the spectrum, Samantha Morton is wildly unhinged as the traumatized precog Agatha. Beneath all of her ramblings, you can sense a real emotional vulnerability and a desperate desire for freedom. In addition to these, you have Neil McDonough, Peter Stormare, and Lois Smith in minor roles, but their talent and charm shines through and helps them make the most of their relatively small amount of screen time. Also capable are Max von Sydow and Catherine Morris, but they don't really become relevant to the story until the third act. As it stands, they each do a fine job with defining their respective characters, but they would have been more potent if the script had made them more pivotal to Anderton and his struggles earlier on. As well as these actors play off of each other, credit must also be given to the production design. A major part of why the aforementioned future setting is so convincing is because of the sets and props. I love the contrast between the dark and dank slums and the cleaner, high-tech part of the city. Another advantage comes with the eerie and evocative musical score. It's John Williams. You knew the music was going to be great. Can you think of a single bad musical score that John Williams has done? In the end, Minority Report does justice to Philip K. Dick and is another in the long line of adventurous successes from Steven Spielberg. The direction is slick, the acting is accomplished, the effects are convincing, mixing practical sets with sleek CGI, the story and its mysteries are endlessly engrossing, the concept is masterfully utilized in a well-written script, and the intriguing themes are conveyed in a thought-provoking way throughout.